Hello, my dear friends. So, today we are going to discuss history, art, and culture current affairs from date of 8th of March till 14th of March. The subject is very much important both from prelims perspective as well as GS 1. So, today's agenda for discussion are very limited. The first one is what are satras. As you all might be knowing, they are very well known in Assam. They are like temples in Assam. The second discussion will be relatively longer and it is regarding declaration of World Heritage Sites by UNESCO. The third and very brief one, third and fourth both are very brief regarding Swami Chidbhavanand and Sahitya Akademi Awards. So let us start with Satras. As you all might be knowing that a great reformer existed in Assam. His name was Shankar Dev. He was a Vaishnavite saint and he started Bhavana and established Shatras. So, what is the context? Actually, the politicians who are often exploiting religion for political gains are running behind all the Shatras for garnering more and more votes. That is not of importance. What is of importance is that you should know about the static portion about Shatras. Shatras are monastic institutions created as part of 16th century neo-Vaishnavite reformist movement started by Vaishnavite saint reformer Srimat Shankar Dev. As I have already told you that Shankar Dev was a Vaishnavite saint who belonged to 16th century and he is associated with Neo-Vaishnavism. Neo-Vaishnavism is Naya Vaishnav Dharma. As the saint traveled across Assam, spreading his teachings and propagating an egalitarian society. So please remember, I have also told you that it is reformist movement. So what they will do? They will try to oppose all the Brahmanical traditions and dominance, as we will see it later. These Chatras, Thans, Satras are also called Thans. Please remember this Thans were established as centers of religious, social and cultural reforms in 16th of century. Satras are spread across the state, promulgating Shankar Dev's unique worship through art approach with music, Borgeet, dance, Satriyas, and theatre bhavana. So remember the question may be asked based on match the following. So remember Bhorgeet is your music, Kshatriyas are dance and Bhavana is theatre. So these all the three are associated with Shankar Dev's Vaishnavism. Please remember that these all the three Borgi, Kshatriyas and Bhavana all the three are associated with Shankar Dev's Vaishnavism. Each Shatra has a Namghar. Please remember Namghar. Namghar means worship hall and it is nucleus. Remember it is at the center जिसको हम गर्भगृह भी बोलते हैं अगर पैरेलल ड्रॉ करना हो तो ठीक है तो जो न्यूक्लियस होता है वो क्या कहलाता है नामघर जहां पे सभी लोग वर्शिप करते हैं नाम जपते हैं ठीक है एंड इट इज हेडेड बाय इन्फ्लुएंशियल क्षत्राधिकार ठीक है क्षत्राधिकार के द्वारा हेडेड होता है मॉन्क नोन एज भक्ts are inducted into satras at young age. Please remember they are inducted in satras at young age. Celibacy is not an issue. ठीक है they may or may not be celibate depending on kind of satra they are inducted into. There are approximately 900 shatras across Assam, but the main centers are Bordoa, Nagaon, Majuli, and Barpeta. These institutions are of paramount importance and lie at the heart of Assamese culture. The relationship between Satra and the state. During the Ahom reign, the Satra received a lot of donation in all forms of land, money from the kings. So please remember that during the Ahom reign, Satras gained their political significance as well. Just like the Brahmins got the significance when Kshatriyas tried to patronize them. Annual grants from the state and central government were doled out to the Kshatras in hope of political support. Kshatra's role in election, so we do not need to discuss this much, so I am not ignoring it because religion in politics, you can give an example, but it is not of importance either from both the point of views. It will not be asked in prelims as well as it will never be asked in mains. Only thing is you can give it as fodder material and I have given you the context. Okay? Chalo. Now let us read about Shankar Dev. Now this topic is important from pre as well as mains perspective. Please remember this topic is important from pre and mains perspective. So remember that Shankar Dev was born in 1449. Year is not important, but definitely century is, like 15th century. He was 15th century saint. ठीक है, neo Vaishnavite saint. ठीक है. He was religious persecutor and also a social reformer. Please remember, social reformer, and he Sanskritized, who had Sanskritized ethnic groups of volatile northeast India and assimilated them with national mainstream Bharat Varsh. Please remember, this is Bharat Varsh. So he was the one who spread the Vaishnavite movement towards the northeastern India and made them asked them to come into the national mainstream. What were his philosophies and contributions? So please remember that he propagated a form of bhakti called Ek Sharan Nam Dharm and espoused a society based on equality and fraternity, free from caste. Please remember, he proposed a society which was free from caste differences and orthodox Brahmanical rituals and sacrifices, as I have already told you at the beginning itself. His teachings focused on prayers and chantings. नाम, please remember, नाम जपना या फिर prayers and chantings. ठीक है, नाम instead of idol worship. Even in ISKCON you can see they keep on dancing and enjoying the prayers, right? So it was something like that, that you do not need idol to worship. You just chant their name and pray to him. His dharma was based on four components of Dev, Nam, Bhakts and Guru. So four components. What were the four components? Dev, God, Nam means prayers, Bhakts means devotees and Guru means teachers. Scholars, however, have argued that post the demise of Shankardev, the nature of Vaishnavite movement has changed significantly. After his demise, due to ideological differences among his disciples, the Kshatras got divided into four independent sectarian divisions, as it usually happens with any religious sect. As the founder dies, there is struggle for power and then it gets divided. So here it was four. Please remember, it was four independent sectarian divisions. Okay. Okay. What was the work of our Shankar Dev? He translated most parts of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Mahapuran, sorry, I am really sorry, Bhagavad Mahapuran into Assamese language, and he was the first ever playwright. It was the first ever playwright in any Indian language other than Sanskrit. He had composed many lyrical songs, including Borgeets. All these justify him uh, Sarvagunkar. Sarvagunkar means he was having all the guns. Okay? All the guns means all the qualities of being a saint. By his most loyal disciple Madhav Dev. Okay? Please remember, his most loyal disciple was named Madhav Dev, and he called his guru as Sarvagunkar. Please remember, what are the important things that you have to know, that three art forms which are associated with Shankar Dev are Borgi, Sattariya and Bhavana. Spelling may change, like it's maybe sometimes written as Bhavana. Okay? So don't get confused by O or U, it is always Bhavana. Okay? Namghar, you will remember, I hope so. Next article which needs elaborate discussion is Declaration of World Heritage Sites by UNESCO. What is the context? So remember that India has 42 sites listed under tentative list, which is a prerequisite condition for inscription as World Heritage Site. Already we have got tentative list which contains 42 sites. Cultural Ministry has told that 3 more sites are being considered for being nominated under World Heritage Sites in 2019-20. What were the 3 sites? First one was Dholavira, which is a Harappan city. The second one is Shantiniketan, India. You all might be knowing that it was established by Rabindranath Tagore, right? And then Sacred Ensemble of Hoysalas. Please remember, all these 3 are very much important from prelims and mains perspective. Shantiniketan was established by Rabindranath Tagore and it is situated in West Bengal. It is very great center for learning arts. Dholavira, as you all know, is in Gujarat and it is an Harappan city. Sacred Ensemble of Hoysalas means the temples made by Hoysala kings, which is in Karnataka, and it is very peculiar in its architecture. The architecture belongs to your 11th to 13th centuries, and the key patron was Vishnuvardhan. Please remember Vishnuvardhan, his era is called Golden Age of Hoysala architecture. Vishnuvardhan. Please remember this name, Vishnuvardhan, Hoysala king. Okay? Okay. And what are the peculiar feature of this Hoysala art are star-shaped buildings. Please remember they had star-shaped temples, star-shaped temples. The second feature which was very important was Jagati. Jagati means a raised platform over which the temple is erected. Okay, so these two please remember. You can say it was much more inspired by Dravidian architecture, but yet it was not completely following Dravidian architecture. Few features of Nagara architecture were also seen in this. Okay, so let us go ahead. At present, India has 38 World Heritage Sites. Please remember that you can refer to this map on the right hand side, and you can see that which all are the sites which have been given World Heritage status from India. What is World Heritage List? A World Heritage List is classified as a natural or man-made area or structure that is of international importance and a space which requires special protection. So what are the two criteria? The first criteria is it should be of international importance, and the second criteria is that it needs special protection. These sites are officially recognized by UN and United Nations, UNESCO basically. ठीक है, तो दो कौन से बॉडीज ऑर्गेनाइज करती है, पहली यूएन एंड द सेकंड वन इज यूनेस्को. यूनेस्को बिलीव्स दैट द साइट्स classified as world heritage are important for humanity, and they hold cultural and physical significance. The selection criteria to be included on World Heritage List. To be included on World Heritage List, site must be outstanding universal value, and meet at least one of the 10 selection criteria. So what are those 10 selection criteria? Please remember that it must be a masterpiece of human creative genius. Obviously that is a very subjective term. Okay? To exhibit an important interchange of human values over a span of time or within the cultural area of the world. तो इसको क्या दिखाना चाहिए कि एक ह्यूमन वैल्यूज इंटरचेंज हुई हो, कल्चरल एरिया हो. ठीक है, इसके अलावा ये डेवलपमेंट ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर, टेक्नोलॉजी, मॉन्यूमेंट, टाउन प्लानिंग, लैंडस्केप डिजाइन का एक बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल हो. ठीक है, टू बियर यूनिक और एटलीस्ट एक्सेप्शनल टेस्टिमोनी टू ए कल्चरल ट्रेडिशन or to a civilization which is living or which has disappeared. So it should represent a legacy. That is the main crux. Please remember that is the main crux. ठीक है, तो आप अगर ऐसे रटने जाओगे तो it will be very difficult to remember all those. See, the key to solve the UPSC question is you should never mug up the general things like masterpiece. You all know that any artifact which will be accorded such status will be a masterpiece. Why to remember that? To exhibit important interlinkage in human value, and it should be a masterpiece of architecture, technology, monument. Why to remember that? You all already know that these kind of things are very much crucial when you are deciding an important place for conservation. So please do not try to mug up everything. You should know what is generic, generalized thing, and what is very specific thing. So just go through this. You will find that most of these points are very generic, very generic. ठीक है, so remember to be directly or tangibly associated with events, living traditions, ideas, beliefs, or artistic literary works of outstanding universal things. So these all are very much generalistic. So any question, if ever it will be asked, you can read it once and you will be definitely through it. Do not try to mug up these things. United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, in brief UNESCO. Let us know about this organization because it will be very much important from pre-perspective. Please remember it will be very much important from the prelims perspective. UNESCO was formed in 1945. It is a specialized agency of UN based in Paris. So there are three facts. What three facts are there? 1945 established, headquarter in Paris, and it is specialized agency of UN. ठीक है, it works for achieving peace and security by promoting international collaboration through education, scientific and cultural reforms. Very generalistic statement, no need to mug up. Now membership, 195 member states. That's it. है ना. इंडिया इज वन ऑफ द फाउंडिंग मेंबर. प्लीज रिमेंबर, इंडिया इज वन ऑफ द फाउंडिंग मेंबर. ठीक है, एंड इट इज वन ऑफ द 10 एसोसिएटेड मेंबर्स. Okay, role of UNESCO in context of World Heritage Site. It seeks to encourage identification, protection and preservation of culture and natural heritage around the world, considered to be outstanding value to humanity. It is embodied in international treaty called Convention Concerning Protection of World Culture, Natural Heritage adopted by UNESCO in 1972. So remember, which is the international treaty which embodies this thing, UNESCO? So that is Convention Concerning Protection of World Cultural and Natural Heritage adopted by UNESCO in 1972. Please remember, again it is very much generic. If the option will come, you will be able to distinguish it. But the key word is World Culture and Natural Heritage. ठीक है, तो दोनों प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए हमने ये अडॉप्ट किया हुआ है. मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट फीचर ऑफ 1972 World Heritage Convention is that it links together the concepts of natural conservation and preservation of cultural properties in single document. So remember, this is one of the peculiar feature that you can remember, that it is natural conservation plus preservation of cultural properties. So nature plus culture. ठीक है, that's a great balance. Please remember this thing, है ना. Okay. Convention recognizes the way in which people interact with nature and fundamental needs to preserve the balance between the two. Achha, what is the mission of UNESCO? It encourages countries to sign World Heritage Convention. Obviously बात है, that is its parent मतलब pet convention. So anyways it will promote that. Encourage state parties to the convention to nominate sites within their national territories. Obviously बात है, इसका काम ही यही है कि वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज लिस्ट को प्रमोट करना, बढ़ाना, कल्चरल थिंग्स को प्रिजर्व करना. तो इसके लिए बोलेगा कि भाई नॉमिनेट कीजिए आप, है ना. Encourage state parties to establish management plans and set up reporting systems. तो ऑब्वियसली बात है, जब कंजर्व करने जाएंगे तो सबसे पहले आप क्या काम करते हो, किसी भी साइट को कंजर्व करने, मैनेजमेंट करते हो, और उसके अलावा रिपोर्टिंग सिस्टम बनाते हो. भाई डाटा कलेक्ट करना पड़ेगा ना आपको. Help state parties safeguard World Heritage properties by providing technical assistance and professional training. So this is also very generic. भाई टेक्निकल ट्रेनिंग, असिस्टेंस, प्रोफेशनल ट्रेनिंग दोगे तभी तो जाकर के प्रिजर्वेशन पॉसिबल है. Provide emergency assistance for World Heritage sites in immediate danger. That's also very generic. Support state parties public awareness building activities for World Heritage Convention. Okay. Steps, I am leaving these two and just read it once. Okay. So let us move on towards steps taken by India. So steps taken by India are very much important from both mains plus prelims. Please remember, mains plus prelims. And these are the steps which India has taken to conserve its cultural heritage. The first one is Adopt Heritage Project. It was launched in 2017 and it is collaborative effort of Ministry of Tourism, Culture and ASI. है ना? And it also involves state and UT governments. Please remember this thing. It envisages development and maintenance of tourist amenities at heritage site and make them tourist friendly. ठीक है? Project primarily focuses on providing basic amenities that include cleanliness, public convenience, safe drinking water, ease of access for tourists, signages, illumination, Wi-Fi, etc. The next scheme which Indian government has launched is Hriday. It has been launched by Ministry of Urban Development. Please remember, Ministry of Urban Development, and its full form is Heritage City Development and Augmentation Yojana. ठीक है, तो हेरिटेज सिटी को उठाएंगे, उसको डेवलप करेंगे, उसको ऑगमेंट करेंगे, और ये योजना हो गई. और इट हैज बीन बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ अर्बन अफेयर्स. प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस थिंग. द स्कीम एम्स टू प्रिजर्व रिवाइटलाइज द सोल ऑफ हेरिटेज सिटी. प्लीज रिमेंबर, हेरिटेज सिटी को, वही सेम चीज मैंने जो कहा, हेरिटेज सिटी को उठाएंगे, डेवलप करेंगे, उसको बढ़ा चढ़ा के ऑगमेंट कर देंगे. ठीक है, ऑगमेंट करेंगे मतलब बेसिकली एस्थेटिकली अपीलिंग बना देंगे, एक्सेसिबल बना देंगे, इंफॉर्मेटिव बना देंगे, सिक्योर्ड इन्वायरमेंट वहां प्रोवाइड करवाएंगे ताकि लोग घूमने जाएं वहां पे. And this was launched by Ministry of Urban Development. Please remember, this was launched by Ministry of Urban Development. Role of ASI, तो आपको ये बहुत क्लियर कट पता है कि ASI maintains multiple centers, multiple monuments in India. ठीक है, तो इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा देख लेते हैं कि it is an attached office under Department of Culture. तो it is under Department of Culture in Ministry of Tourism and Culture. It performs archaeological research and protection of cultural heritage of nation. It's very generic, ठीक है, again, but please remember this thing. It is under Ministry of Tourism and Culture, ठीक है, and under the Department of Culture, ठीक है. Okay, it regulates all archaeological activities in the country as per provisions of Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958. Please remember, it regulates all the archaeological activities in country in accordance to Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958. It also regulates antiquities and art treasure 1972. Now let's move on towards our second last topic for the day, that is Swami Chidbhavanand. Okay, so he was born in uh, 19, 1898 in traditional agricultural family to Periyana, Gounder and Nanjamal. I am really sorry if I am pronouncing it wrong, but please bear with my pronunciation because I am not very much acquainted with South Indian cities' names. Okay, so please remember that Swami Chidbhavanand was from an agricultural background, and he was a great teacher, and he explained spiritual concepts in very small, in very simplified manner. He also wrote about Ramayana and Mahabharata. He was founder of Ramakrishna Ashram at Udgam Mandalam. Udgam Mandalam. He was founder of he also founded Sri Ramakrishna Tapovanam Ashram at Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu. Please remember that it is in Tamil Nadu. Okay? He has authored 186 books and many literary compositions to his credit. However, his scholarly work on Gita is one of the most celebrated ones. Please remember, his scholarly work on Gita is most celebrated one, and the Tamil version of Gita with his commentaries was published in 1951. So please remember, this thing is getting going to be of 70 years approximately. So that is why it is important. Okay? The way he explained it was quite lucid and simple for common man to understand. Okay? The path of salvation he has explained, and its Kindle version was recently launched. Please remember, that is why it was in very much in news. Its translation into Telugu, Odia, German and Japanese were undertaken by devotees. Okay, then comes your last topic for the day, that is Sahitya Akademi Awards. The Sahitya Akademi Awards were established in 1954 and it is a literary honor. Please remember, this is a literary honor, not arts related. Okay? It is a literary honor, Sahitya Akademi. Okay? It is conferred by Sahitya Akademi, which is an Indian National Academy of Letters. Please remember, Indian National Academy of Letters. Okay? Sahitya Akademi Award prizes the most outstanding books of literary merit published in any of the major Indian languages recognized by the Academy. साहित्य अकादमी के बारे में आप जान लीजिए. So it is an autonomous organization. Please remember, it is an autonomous organization under Ministry of Culture, and it encourages preservation and promotion of languages, especially the unrecognized tribal languages. The Sahitya Akademi Library is one of the largest multilingual library in India, which is rich, with a rich collection of books on literature and allied subjects. It publishes 2 bi-monthly literary journals, Indian Literature in English and Samkaleen Bharatiya Sahitya in Hindi. So that's it for the day. Thank you and bye bye. Keep learning.